Good morning, guys. So sometimes when I do the read aloud, which we will get to in a minute, I stop and kind of show you like what's going on in my mind as a reader. Am I making a connection or an inference or a prediction? Or I might point out like some good things that good writers do, like using similes and good word choice so their readers can visualize what's going on. But other times I might just read. So you can sit back and kind of enjoy what's happening in the chapter without me constantly interrupting. So that's what I'm going to do today. It is a shorter chapter again. I apologize. And at the end of the chapter, you're going to have to take a little quiz on what you think the most important event of the chapter was. Remember some of the strategies that we've been using, like it might come at the end of the chapter or at the end of a paragraph. So those are some things that you can look out for. It's not always guaranteed though. So you might want to think about like what events happened in the story, which one seems to be the biggest event or the most important. And the quiz will be on Google Classroom. All right, so here we go, Chapter 12. Harvest came. Matthew and Mark stayed out of school to help Dad bring the crops in, the three of them working some days from dawn until midnight. Mother's factory got busier too, and she began working 2 or 3 hours of overtime every day. She brought up a store of food to Luke's room so he wouldn't get hungry while they were all away. There, she said cheerfully, lining up all the boxes of crackers and bags of fruit. This way you won't even miss us. Her eyes begged him not to complain. Uh-huh, he said, trying to sound game. I'll be fine. He watched the Sports family's house only sporadically now. What other proof did he need? What good did it do to him to know about the other third child? What did he expect? That the other kid would run out in his backyard and yell, "Hey, Luke, come out and play." He munched his solitary apples. He ate his crackers alone. And in spite of himself, a crazy idea grew in his mind, sprouting new details daily. What if he snuck into the Sports family's house and met the other third child? He could do it. It was possible, theoretically. He'd spent entire days plotting his route. He'd be hidden by bushes in the barn through much of his yard, and it was only about 6 feet from there to the nearest tree in the Sports family's backyard. He could crawl on his stomach. Then he'd be hidden by the fence that the Sports family shared with the Bird Brain family. All those birdhouses might actually help. After that, it was only 3 steps to the Sports family's house. They had a sliding glass door at the back, and on warm days they'd been leaving it open with just a screen. He could go in there. Would he dare? Of course he wouldn't, but still. The first time he looked out the vents and saw the maple leaves shot through with shades of red and yellow, he panicked. He needed those leaves to hide him on his way to the Sports family's house. If he waited too long, the leaves would be gone. He'd been waking up every morning in a cold sweat, thinking, maybe today? Do I dare? Just thinking about it made his stomach feel funny. It rained 3 days in a row in early October, and he was almost relieved because that meant he couldn't go on those days, didn't even have to think about going. He couldn't risk leaving footprints in the mud. And Dad and Matthew and Mark were in the way, anyway, hanging around the house and the barn, grumbling because they couldn't get into the fields. Finally, the rain stopped and the fields dried up, and Dad and Matthew and Mark went back to their combine and tractors, acres away from the house. The backyard and the Sports family's backyard were dry, too, and it was warm again. The Sports family left their sliding glass door open. The rain hadn't knocked all the leaves off the backyard trees, but the next rain probably would. And on the third morning after the rain, Luke's stomach churned as he sat on his perch watching the neighborhood empty out. He knew without question that today was the day. He'd have to go, if he ever intended to. He couldn't wait until spring. He wouldn't be able to stand it. He watched 28 people leaving in 8 cars on one school bus. Hands trembling, he made scratches on the wall again and recounted once, twice, 3 times, 28, yes, 28, yes, 28, the magic number. He could hear the blood pounding in his ears, and he moved in a daze off his perch, down the stairs into the kitchen, and then out the back door.